And welcome to the talk show. Let the truth be told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And folks, we got a great show today. We're going to talk about over the weekend that America is officially at war with Iran. We're going to discuss Ilya Omar, some other things. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know. You're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. And welcome to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. First, let me give all praises to Yahuwah and Yahusha. That's God and Christ in Hebrew. Well, it never ceases to the American people and patriots across this country. When we asked President Trump to fix this country, he has done so. He's changed all the gay laws and made marriage between a man and a woman. He's kicked all that stuff out of the schools, and it's up to us as citizens to play our part and assist him by making sure that the laws that he has created be followed. This country is on the upswing again now. To the American people and patriots across this country, we asked for the president to fix the problems that the Democrats created and lied and said they didn't. They opened the borders. I mean, y'all know the whole story. I ain't got to go through that. Y'all know what they did, especially black people. Black people. Finally, it seemed like Black America is asking the Democrats questions. What the hell are you doing? We can see how they did. They sat down at the State of the Union speech. They did not acknowledge kids who had cancer. That's a big fight. But yet and still, they roared and cheered about the illegals, the cartels, the crimes they've committed in this country illegally. And in saying that, let me get my team in. Doc, hey. What's
hey
up,
guys.
Randy?
Hello.
Guys,
Just
listen.
trying to get a little information.
All right, listen. Randy, I want your thoughts on over the weekend, Trump dropped the boom on Iran because Iran have been getting Americans money and killing Americans for a long time. Now, when he said the Ayatollah Khomeini, I was like, he's still in office? Ever since I was a kid, that's been over 50, 60 years. Okay. So all of these previous presidents, and see, guys, I want your thoughts on this because what President Trump is doing is cutting off the money stream for the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Because remember, he hit Minnesota. Now he hit Iran. Barack Obama put $9 million worth of cash over there on pallets. Remember that, Randy?
I was just about to touch on that.
Yep. And so to the American people, patriots across this country, we are now looking at what President Trump is doing. No other president didn't do because they had a problem with doing what was right. Your thoughts on this, the war we're in with Iran, Randy?
Well, like you just said, Pastor Larry, that President Obama, gave them pallets of cash, to the tune of $9 billion. Back in, I want to say it was 2010 or something like that, somewhere around there, 2009. So, and this was like an effort to say, hey, can you stop, producing nuclear weapons? It was a plea. But Iran was like, thank you for the money. And yeah, no, we're not. And so,
Yep.
So here we are, but Iran, the Ayatollah Khomeini and his crew, his regime, they took over Iran back in 1979. And they've been the sponsor of terrorism, the state sponsor of terrorism around the world ever since. So they don't have elections. They don't have, a free market per se. They don't do anything for the people. Matter of fact, it was just a few weeks ago when they were out there protesting the government, the regime. They killed estimated around 30,000 people. So yes, it was beyond time.
Wow.
That this administration said, okay, enough is enough. All my predecessors were punks and didn't want to do anything about this. We finna take care of business. But it speaks to a broader geopolitical landscape that disrupting not only Iran and destabilizing Iran will create a bridge for peace in the Middle East to a small degree. It disrupted for at least a generation or two, because these kids now that are growing up and they're seeing that grandpa got killed and everybody else, they got to grow up and train their mind and say, we want revenge. So it's no different than the Iraq war.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to Iraq, I was in Iraq 20 years ago. So it was like, okay, these little kids now, I'm seeing them on TV, with suicide vests and everything else. They grow up with this ideology that they have to come after us. So this is just a prolonged, elongated thing. This is not going to be a problem solved. The world is going to be great, next year type of thing. No, this is going to be just we're going to revisit this again in 30 years type of thing. So that's how I look at it. But like I said, this was long overdue. This should have been done,
Yes.
when Reagan. So a little bit more historical context. When Iran kidnapped and killed some of our U.S. soldiers back in 1979, the clock was ticking to Ronald Reagan taking over the presidency. And the thing that he campaigned on was, if those soldiers are not released by the time I take office, that's your ass. And
yep, exactly.
1201, when Ronald Reagan was sworn in, Iran released those soldiers. So Iran already knew that, they get the right person in office to come after us. We might want we might want to be aware of this. And so here we are, 47 years later, ladies and gentlemen.
Man,
this is actually 46. Correction, 46 years later. This is what we had. And by the way, that happened on my birthday. That's so crazy.
Happy birthday, Doc. Your thoughts on us going to this war?
Well, my main concern is the vacuum, right? Because you mentioned, right? You mentioned Al Qaeda, and what did that come from? That came from Gaddafi and that whole situation. Venezuela. Right now, we've got Venezuela and we've got Iran, and we have Ukraine. They're vacuums, and the question becomes, who is going to be the authority once the dust settles? Right? Because yes, some of the Iranian people, they are happy that regime is finally gone. Because, like, to your point, Randy, they've been there for decades, and they knew they weren't going to mess with Reagan, because at that point in time, the Republican Party was a lot stronger than they are now. But now we have a wayward Republican Party. USAID, when that was shut down, people were crashing out because they're like, oh my gosh, the soft power is gone. No, your money's gone. Okay. But we're still sending $40 million a week to various terrorist organizations. Let me say that again, not a year.
Yes, a week. Yep.
$40 million. Everybody, our tax dollars are going to terrorist organizations, not countries. Literally, we are supporting terrorism, and that comes through the CIA. And again, they talk about this quote unquote soft power that nobody really sees. So, and their whole function is, well, we don't want to see conflict, and we're trying to resolve these things, but they're committing mass genocides, murders, all kind of crazy stuff that we don't see and we don't know about till decades later. So again, this is just like the starting of this Pandora's box, in my opinion, and a lot more is going to come out. But the bigger problem that I see is the regime change. What happens next? Who is in authority next? So we don't have another situation like what we've had, where somebody else crazy is going to be in power for the next 80 years.
Well,
I wanted to say to your point, Dr. Shack, you're right about the power vacuum.
Yes.
And the other thing The power vacuum also extends to the sleeper cells that have been
Yes.
embedded in countries over the last few decades. We just had just yesterday morning here in Austin, Texas. You know, we had a guy, wearing a property of Allah go and shoot up a nightclub. You know, so
and they naturalized that person. He was naturalized from Syria.
The naturalized, exactly. And so so people think that, that was just a lone wolf attack. There is no such thing as a lone wolf attack. Gentlemen, I'm gonna tell you right now. These people plan, plot, and they played a long game. He's been in this country for at least 20 years.
Exactly.
So he was sitting over here with them. He was sent here with a mission. Like when the time is right, when your phone rings,
drop it.
Yes.
That's your day to die. That's how they roll. That's literally how they roll. It's like when your phone ring from us, that's your day to die. Gear up and go out there and do your thing. And that's how these secret cells operate. And we've seen this time and time again when I was in Iraq. You know, it was like these guys, they have it in their head that you are to die and by any means necessary, and they will carry that out knowing that they're going with you. So
and the unfortunate part is we know who these people are. We know who they are. You know who they are. Stop that. You can find somebody in the middle of a desert in a dirt hole, but you can't find this dude before he kills U.S. citizens. Like, this is the problem with our government that I have. Stop that. You're following and tracking everybody, the innocent people, but you can't find the bad people. You couldn't have shut this guy down. Yes, you could have.
But you know what? You know what? Both you guys are totally correct. And that's why we do this show, so we can break this down for the American people. We're breaking it down so everybody can understand the situation. And because our government has been so corrupt, that's true, Randy. They open these borders purposely. And when they open those borders and allow for all these people to come in, this is why I say to the American people and patriots across this country, we have to disband the Democratic Party. Their whole mission was to destroy the United States and take over and do exactly what was being done in Iran, with just one or two leaders running the country and everybody else living in the dirt. It's clearly, and it's showing every day. It's showing every day. But President Trump is really doing the job of the American people need. But more importantly, I can see God using him as a vessel to right some of the wrongs that have already happened in our country, because he's bringing us back to a place to where a man and a woman, a family, God, we got to bring God back to this country. He's trying to pull us back to a place of respectability across even in other nations, so that they don't try the things that they've been doing and getting away with. Because, see, it's a strategic move if you think about it, Randy. Now we've captured Venezuela and we own their oil. That hurt the Chinese and the Russians because they was trying to do deals on the side with China, with Venezuela, to get more oil. Okay, now I got our hands in that. Now all of a sudden, here we are. Iran not only supports these terrorist groups, but they also kick out a lot of oil. So now Russia's going to have a problem because that was one of their biggest allies for the oil. You know, so in what you're saying, Doc, too, about the hidden sales. Now that we got all these hidden sales over here, we don't know who number is going to be called. We don't know where they're going to attack at. And that's why this is really important, that the American people need to understand what the president is doing is he's trying to get all these people out of here. And to the American citizens, we need to keep our eyes open. If we see something, we need to be calling the proper authorities, because believe me, when he took Iran, I had a different feel about it, because I know that our borders have been open and we probably got all sorts of sleeper cells in here. I'm going to play a little bit of what the president did over the weekend, and we're going to talk about it.
Short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels and international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon.
Okay, guys, your thoughts on that, Doc?
Yeah, well, the reason why, and I know a lot of people say, well, other countries have nuclear weapons. Yeah, they do, but they're not actually going to use them. Okay, that's the difference between them and Iran.
Yep.
Like, Iran doesn't care. Like, they really don't care. Like, these are the people that believe they're going to get 40 diversions if they blow themselves up in a place full of people. Like, it's bad. It's really bad. Okay. And so I need people to understand that. You know, they're like, well, Trump is doing all these things. Guess what? He already told us in his first administration, newsflash, I am not going to tell you what I'm doing. You can dial it back. Like, go back and watch him. He said it before he got elected. I am never going to tell you what I'm doing. I'm never going to broadcast it. You know why? Because I won't get anything done. Now, these people sitting around in Congress. Now, I heard that Miss AOC, she was out there, you know, spilling the tea, trying to get people killed. What is wrong with you, ma'am?
Yes.
You are a member of Congress. You cannot release any type of military activity. You will get people injured. Okay. So these members of Congress that are doing things like that, please stop sending them back to the office. Please stop sending them back to office. They are dangerous people.
Randy?
Send them to jail. Send them to jail. You know, I tell a quick story. Back in 2003, when I first went to Iraq in Baghdad, it was relatively quiet because we killed everybody. You know, so it was relatively quiet, you know, the first couple months. You know, it was a little activity here and there, little pop shots and stuff like that. But, you know, it was kind of like, all right, that's Chicago, whatever. But then all of a sudden, the birth of the IED, the improvised explosive device, came along. And our initial intelligence assets said that these things were coming from Iran and Syria. And so the Bush administration was hesitant about going into Iran and Syria because we was already on the two-front war with Afghanistan at the time. So it was kind of like, all right, you know, we'll just deal with that as it comes type of situation. And so that was 23 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. And so here we are today, And we see that Iran is still doing stuff like this, and as President Trump just pointed out, all the examples over the last decades of, what Iran has been doing, we knew this already, as military personnel, that Iran was like the proxies and whether funding to proxies and everything else, and spurring up these terrorist little terror cells and everything else in Iraq. We knew this. Most of the Iraqis, we thought they were Iraqis, but they were actually Syrians. They was actually Syrians. They was actually people from Iran and Syria that were fighting with us. Not Iraqis, not the locals. The locals were like, thank God y'all got Saddam Hussein out of here. We trying to, live our lives now. They didn't. They was cool. It was outside folks, and we saw convoys coming in across the border, with their rocket launchers and what you call it, RPGs and stuff like that. That we knew they was coming from other countries, the neighboring countries. So yes, it was long overdue, and it was kind of like I said, we have to play the long game just like they played the long game. And I will hope and pray that the next administration stays on course with what's going on. And to your point about the members of Congress leaking information, that's been going on for years as well. And they need to go to jail for that, because that is treasonous activity, what they're doing. It is. And they are getting killed.
It's this simple. In order to be in the Congress in the United States, and in order to be in the Senate, you must be a real citizen of this country. We need to stop letting these proxy type politicians like Ilya Omar, who is from somewhere we don't know, who got a fake citizenship and ran for office. They stole an election, and she's been stealing money ever since that she's been in office. So I think that we, the American people, need to put these guardrails up, because we can see now that people who say they come here, and even though just like I've been here 20 years, but like you said, Randy, if they pull your call and you sitting in a room full of thousands of people and you explode yourself, you're gonna injure American citizens. So that's my main concern about this whole thing is, will we be able to stop an inside terror attack? And I don't know. What are your thoughts, Randy? You think that we are capable of stopping it? And because this could lead to some things.
Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no. We are capable of stopping it, but that will require like immense amount of resources, just hitting everybody at one time, just saying a preemptive strike on everybody that possibly could be a terrorist type of thing. Right. We don't have the resources for that. So it's kind of like let's wait and see what's being cooked up and then try to go after it and hope we're on time for it. That's going to probably be the best field to play. But right now, as it stands, if there's going to be a large scale terror attack, it's going to have to happen first before we react, type of thing. That's how I look at it, because we just don't have the resources to go after everybody and everything at one time like that, because there's too many. The Biden administration let in over 20 million. So to say that we're going to go after all 20 million just on the premise of they might be a terrorist, that will eat up every resource that we have plus some. So it's just a matter of just letting things play out. And, we got the technology to monitor it, but do we have the technology to go after it? That's the difference.
Let's grab a little of this video, this update.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
We are facing an act of aggression, and obviously we have every right to defend ourselves.
We've been hit. We've been hit.
History unfolding in the Middle East. The U.S. and Israel carrying out an unprecedented military operation, crippling Tehran's leadership by taking out Iran's supreme leader, along with dozens of other top officials.
The devastating blow to Iran's Islamic regime, a result of one of the largest military operations in the history of modern warfare, with 900 U.S. strikes in just 12 hours, using 2 aircraft carriers, 3 destroyers, and B-2 stealth bombers, and striking at least 500 Iranian targets.
We've already seen dozens of U.S. military bases targeted with retaliatory strikes as Iran vows revenge.
President Trump urging Iran not to return fire or face, quote, force that has never been seen before.
The sentiment for Iranian Americans across the globe, elation, celebrations erupting after the strikes came down, in what could be the best hope for relief from the Islamic regime's reign in decades. We begin this morning with Jennifer Griffin to walk us through this history-making mission. And
all right, guys, your thoughts on that, Randy?
You know, hey, that was beautiful. Yeah, I don't know if you heard me chuckle. I had a flashback being back in Iraq. That was beautiful. Because I was there when they snatched down Saddam's statue there in Baghdad. And that was actually a very emotional moment for everybody on the ground there. It was just like, wow, you're seeing them just, take that rope and lasso it up there, and they just yanking it, and then the whole community just came together and just like got that thing down, and they're like taking their shoe and smacking it. That's the ultimate sign of disrespect. So if somebody hits you with a shoe, that's but
they did throw one at W.
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah,
but for Iran, they're experiencing a similar situation where they finally feel a sense of relief, a sense of oppression lifted off of them, and so it's just a matter of time. Once we get through the whole vacuum of power, the whole let's rebuild our city or country, and let's get a government in here that's going to work for the people type of thing. We don't know where this is going to go. So I know the Trump administration has a plan. The exiled the exiled crown prince for Iran is I guess you would say on tap to come in and take over and restore order. So we'll see how that goes and and what happens with that.
Your thoughts, Doc?
Yeah, just to hear, I guess reports from Iran saying, we're going to retaliate, because you got to remember, they didn't just get bombed. They bombed other surrounding countries, 16 of them, apparently. So I'm like, okay, you just don't even want friends right now. So nobody's going to be there to help you because you're trying to destroy their country. So now not only do you have the United States and Israel against you, you have these other countries against you as well. Like they're cornered. I don't want to say finally, but again, the vacuum that this is going to create.
Yes.
They have got to not just shut down the leaders. There's the cells on the ground, and there's the cells that are here. To your point, it's like, yeah, I would just love to see all of them gone. But to your point, Randy, there's so many of them. How do you really disperse the resources and then do it in a way that they don't know you're coming? Right? Because they're involved. They are in our communications network.
Yes,
and
they are.
People don't realize that they work for us.
They work for us.
They work in the federal government.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
What are we doing?
Yeah. There's a movie, I can't remember the name of it, I apologize, but I'm going to describe it for you, where there was the architect of 9/11, along with Osama bin Laden. He was a spy for both sides, and the CIA and the FBI knew he was a spy for both sides. And so this guy went unscathed for 20 years, doing stuff. And you got people like him who was training terror cells, and the CIA was like, hey, we got some more information. We got some more weapons for you to get to them. Here you go. So
I'm gonna play a little bit more of the clip, man. We got a couple of clips I want to play. And then I'm gonna ask you guys a question on how, to the Black community, how this war is going to affect our community. That's the question that we play this
Israel
piece.
launched strikes on Hezbollah targets across Lebanon as the IDF says it's hitting the Iran-backed group with force. Explosions lit up the night sky, even in Beirut, after Israel responded to a missile barrage from Hezbollah toward northern Israel. The terrorist group claimed responsibility, saying it was retaliation for killing of Iran's former supreme leader Ali Khamenei on Saturday. Luckily, there were no injuries or damage reported in Israel from those missiles. This escalation comes amid Israel's long-running clashes with Hezbollah, which intensified after the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack. But the timing couldn't be worse, with Israel and the U.S. just kicking off a coordinated bombing campaign against Iran aimed at toppling its regime. Striking Hezbollah, one of Iran's key proxies, risks pulling Lebanon deeper into the fight. Experts worry this could spark a full-blown regional war, drawing in more players across the Middle East. The IDF hasn't said how many targets were hit, but the message is clear. Israel's drawing a line. As tensions boil over, the world's watching to see if this spreads even further.
Okay, guys, your thoughts on that? Because, I was sort of surprised when they said that Israel was involved with this, but then I thought about it. It'd benefit them too as well. Your thoughts on that, Doc?
Well, like I was saying before, they work for us. I mean, where is this really going to go in all actuality, for the American people? So,
Well, now the question comes to mind to the Black community. Here we are in a very precarious position because we're finally opening our eyes to see what's being said about us a long time ago, that now we need to be trying to make ourselves self-sufficient. Our community needs to be trying to pull ourselves together and try to start creating our own with economic development, our schools. I mean, we need to be trying to figure out our future and what contributions we're about to make to this war and how it's going to affect us. Your thoughts on that, Doc, on how it affects the Black community?
Well, what I don't want to get into is something like Vietnam. What I don't want to get into is something like what we had in Iraq and Afghanistan, where we're back into a forever conflict, not necessarily a war, but a conflict where we actually need to have these boots on the ground to maintain peace and order, because that's what happened with Iraq and Afghanistan. Okay. And we had people over there, for decades, and they still are there in some way. Afghanistan was a debacle, but there's still people over there. We still have some of our people there to maintain some type of soft power or order. What I don't want is our young Black people being sent over there. En masse, because this is what happens. Hey, join the military. And there has been an uptick in people joining the military, right? So because they may not want to go to work, or not work, but you know what I'm saying, like formal jobs, and they can get the training that they need, right? So they can be better civilians. But what I'm saying is, I do not want.
Look good.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying? I don't want the civil service, mandatory. You need to go to war situation like we had with World War I and World War II. I don't want to see that for young people right now, because we will get another Vietnam situation and it will not go well. I'm just saying, where everybody's at right now with America, it just won't go well, in my opinion.
Your thoughts, Randy?
No, I agree. I agree with you on that sentiment, Doc. However, I will say I don't see it going that way, and here's why.
Okay.
The Venezuela and with Iran, the premise is let's get rid of the leadership and country. You citizens, you take over your stuff. Versus Iraq. I mean, with Iraq and Afghanistan, we came in and was trying to take over. So we're actually like we don't want anything to do with this, but we're going to have something to do with this. So y'all be prepared to take over your own stuff. We're just going to come help you out for the time being. So I don't see it escalating to the point of a forever war or conflict or even, putting boots on the ground for anything. There may be like a envoy of, or a delegation of people to come and assist the government, get things going. But as far as anything else goes that we have previously seen, I don't see it going there. So I'm not really concerned about that. But to your point, there has been an uptick in military enlistment. And I would say it's for two reasons. One, the bonuses are looking hellified good. Matter of fact, my former stepdaughter, I hate to say it like that, but I have to delineate the relationships now. Now I'm married and everything. So, but my former stepdaughter, I still keep in contact with my stepkids. My
your
former
bonus
stepkids.
children. They're bonus.
Yeah.
So she called me and she said, "Hey, I'm looking at going into the military." And I said, "Oh, again?" She said, "Yeah, I'm serious this time because the money's looking good." I'm like, "Okay, whatever. You're grown, figure it out." So there's that. So that's enticing to the young people, given the environment of the economy that we in, and even for Black folks that are out there, that's going to be enticing to them. They say, "Hey, you know what? I can be part of something bigger than myself." And actually make money, have a stable, environment for my family and everything else through military benefits or government benefits and everything else for serving, however long that may look like, and everything else. And so that, to your point, Pastor Larry, that brings back, that discipline, the economics back into the community, just like back in the 60s when Medgar Evers left. He left and said, "You know what? I'm going to be gone for a couple of years. God willing, I come back, but this is what I'm gonna bring back to the community," and that's what he did. Until he was assassinated, because those folks said, whoa, he got military background, he got some experience, he knows what he's doing, what he's talking about. We need to take him out, and that's how that unfolded. But a lot of Black men of that era went into the military to understand how the global spectrum of things worked, and they brought that knowledge, that information back to their communities to build their communities. And so I strongly encourage that, to go and, get out of your neighborhoods, go and experience life, go and experience those things around the world, whatnot. And God willing, if it's in your path, that you come back and you be able to help your communities. And that's what we need to be encouraging.
Well, when we came along, it was three things after high school. You was going to get a job. You was going to either go to the military or go to college. That was mandatory out of everybody's household. The Black community flourished because then we created men who went to the military who was wimpy when they went in, but they became men because the military won't tolerate that. They taught them how to be strong, economically sound. I mean, all of those things were a opening for the Black community. But this is the thing now. It's a different situation for us because back then, coming from a Black family, y'all had at least something.
Yeah.
We had a community that contributed to us growing up. And so here we are at this juncture when we have the Black community and our young men, their mindset is so decimated to just playing video games, staying in the house. They're not physical like they should be. They don't have the same type of pride for the country that we had, or the respect for the country, because of all these bad things that these children have seen from the government in the society that they live in. What do you think, Randy, or either Doc, what do you think would be the mindset of some of these young people? Because the Black community is really on its last legs. Everybody else is flourishing. We see economic development in the white community, Italian community, the Mexican, everybody else community is flourishing, and they have something to look forward to. But what do you think that our young people will have forward to look into when we got the drug rate, the criminals, the migrants in our community? There's no economic development. Black leadership is destroying the Black community. What do you think would be the mindset of our children now if they was forced to go or they had to go into the war, Doc?
I think they would be very apprehensive because they've got orange man bad syndrome. You know, a lot of them do. It is what it is. And a lot of the householders are like blue no matter who. They cannot think past today and really
Just
look at what does the community look like tomorrow, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road. Where do I want to be? Because they can't get past their hatred of one person. It's almost like I would throw my country away because of my hatred of this one person. And that's the sad part that a lot of us in our community are at. Now, there's the 30%, in my opinion, of our community. They really do love the country and they will go into the military. Some people I know are reservists now and going back into military service. So it's happening. They've even increased the age limit to 42 from 34, where it was. They're making a lot of different concessions. Like Randy said, they're bringing up the money. So they are really trying to get people to come back into the military for it to be a strong force. But this blue no matter who mentality, that is really what's going to take down, unfortunately, our community.
Absolutely. And to that point, Doc, you're absolutely right. It's a Facebook group I was in. I don't know if I say was because I haven't seen any activity, so I think they kicked me out of it the other day. But I'm not gonna say the name of it, so because I don't want them to get trolled. They deserve to be trolled because I trolled them. But all in all, it was an all black group here and locally, and I came in there and that was like the prevailing messaging there. It was like vote blue no matter who. And I said, oh, thanks for the idea. You know, as a Republican, maybe I'll run as a Democrat and then you'll let me into office and then you'll see what my policies would be. And it was like, oh, that's deception. You know, why would you do that? You know, it's like, because you're an idiot. You know, this is what it was. You're not trying to do any research. You're not trying to understand, you know, what the issues are. You just going by a party label and just saying, just in hopes that person has your best interest at heart. And that's it's actually on both sides of the aisle, to be honest. You know, it is on both sides. You know, you got vote red till you dead and vote blue no matter who. You got these mantras, and this is why we're in the mess that we're in right now, is because we don't apply logic and think about, okay, parties aside, who are you and what are you doing and what are you bringing to the table and why should I vote for you? Because if you're not going to do anything for my family, my community, and my country, then take all the seats in the stadium and sit down, because we don't need that. And that's the problem that we're at. And the black community, they're on the socioeconomic bottom of the barrel when it comes to this. That's why we don't have anything. That's why we can't do anything, because we have the mentality of, you know, hey, if it's not about the Democrats, then we don't care. And it's like, you're going to cut your nose and spite your face and go with a party that doesn't care anything about you versus looking at what the other side is offering, what they're bringing to the table. You would rather tune all that out, don't care because of a label versus what's the policy. And that
both parties are based in ideology. They're not based in actually getting anything done. And that's the problem on both sides. Like,
you know, guys, that is so correct. But I urge the black community that watch the show, and as well as every American, should be trying to really help uplift the black community, Doc. You know, we ourselves, and let me say this: there has been so much stuff that has happened to the black community that we're in this place. See, what a lot of black people don't want to acknowledge is the fact that if you take a look at what happened with the 94 crime bill, the 94 crime bill came in after Bill Clinton. Now, these are Democrat leaders. After Bill Clinton took out NAFTA, which took all the economics out of the country, all the black community was almost desolate with no jobs, right? The NAFTA agreement. And then Joe Biden wrote the 94 crime bill, and then they brought the crack in, and it went crazy. And then the black leaders got together, Jesse Jackson and a whole bunch of rest of these Negro pastors across the country, got together with their legislation, and then went beg Joe Biden and Bill Clinton to pass this bill to lock our children up and continue to let crack be spread all into the community. And here we are in 2026, and our community still is reeling from that. So why I'm saying that is because Black people need to wake up and find out that it's been the Democratic Party who has been the party that has damaged us the most.
Yeah.
The people that we've been voting for are the ones who've hated us so much that they created laws to lock our Black men and women up in droves, and then they made the prisons private, which made the Black community, men and women, a commodity.
Mhm.
And yet and still, this is what I don't understand, and yet and still, the Black community with this bad leadership is in a place right now where we don't own nothing, we don't own the land, we don't have control of our schools, we don't have control of our families, we have control over nothing. And so my thoughts is this: how is this war going to affect the Black community? Now you're going to want our children to go there. If it escalates to another place, then they got to go over there and fight a war, then come back home to all this discriminatory practices. Your thoughts on that, Doc?
Well, it's gonna be. It's sad, when you comprise it like that, because you would think we'd be in a better place by now, right?
Yes.
But this was a whole. But see, this is the long game, right? As Randy likes to say, they've been playing the long game. They played the long game with COINTELPRO, because in COINTELPRO it does say they will never have another Black Jesus. They will have another savior. They will never have another savior. There will never be another Black leader in the community to help lead them where they are. They will remain desolate. And I'm paraphrasing on that part, the desolate part. But they purposely made sure that there was no other leadership in the Black community. And they've done a great job of that. But where I'm at is we've been a lot more resilient to figure out what we can do and how we can do it. And to me, this is a turning point just for the entire Black community, because all has been exposed. They can no longer put the genie back in the bottle, and they can no longer, hide behind the curtain of the Wizard of Oz and say, well, I'm really helping you. No, you're not. You are for everybody else. I'm so glad that Donald Trump made them stand up, because it showed they do not care about American citizens, especially the Black ones, the vote that they depend on. They don't care about you. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Sonny Johnson was like, well, you haven't gotten any marching orders. He gave us his marching orders by having that public display of what they will not do.
Yep, exactly. And they squirmed and they's like, oh, I need to stand up. Oh, but I can't. Oh my God, I'm gonna be eviscerated. Oh my God, man, this is bad. This is very, very bad. And it was like, you know what? That shows that you're controlled. If you have a member, if you have a member of Congress, go back and watch that clip. Go back and watch the State of the Union. If you have a member of Congress that sat during that moment, you need to find somebody to primary their asses next year, because they don't need to be in office. If they're not willing to break the chains and stand up.
I mean, what's the problem is, and so this only showed, especially the American citizens. But my concern is how our Black community is receiving this, the mindset, and because I'm wondering, wait a minute, I'm sitting there watching like, wait a minute, I'm looking at my taxes saying, the last count I know that I pay taxes, their ass worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way the Democrats should have been sitting down talking about, well, we like it that the migrants are here. We like it that Black people ain't got nothing, because we want control. We like crime in the Black community because we're going to add more to it. I'm sitting there looking at them saying, this is clearly a picture for Black people to really understand that the Democratic Party hates our ass. They use us because they need our votes. And it's time for us to get rid of them, shake them, and start thinking about ourselves. We need to start thinking about rebuilding our own community. We need to start thinking about making sure we understand how economics work. Because the present day leadership that we got to the Black community if we don't get rid of all of these house Negro politicians, and I'm just keeping it real, we got a lot of college educated fools that are politicians now, and they're going along with the old adage of the program is that, well, we're better than the local blacks, so we're going to run this the way we want to run it. We'll just take all the money for them and rebuild a new community and let that die. That's been one of the missions that the Black community is facing. Your thoughts on that, Doc?
Yeah, it's very sad, but I was grateful for that State of the Union. Like I said, it was a public confirmation of where they said they weren't. And I know that was kind of tricky the way I said it, but they kept saying, no, we're not giving these things to the migrants. No, we're really not doing that. It was a public confirmation of where you are. And you, to your point, you have to let that sink in. Being someone in the Black community, we're never going to give you any leaders. We're never going to support you. We're always going to make sure that we put everybody else over you. We have confirmed it. There's a stamp on it. You can't take the recordings back. You can't take them back. We don't stand for you. We stand against you.
Yes.
You need to primary every single Democrat in every single state that sat down at the House level. It's time to really turn everything around.
Randy?
And I would say at the Senate too, because the Senate just
absolutely
get them all, get them all. Yeah, and if ladies and gentlemen, I would say also, you have to think about this all the way down to that's a federal level, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
that's a federal level. You got to think about this all the way down to your damn precinct chair level, and that's at the very bottom of the ballot. Although your county party may not be active or inactive or whatever the case is, but that precinct chair, that city council, that county JP, county commissioner, county judge, you start working up that ballot and you start looking at these people and looking at what they stand for and look at what they're doing. You say, you know what? We're not playing that no more. That's how you get these jokers out of office. That's how you start, making change in your community. You got to start at the bottom of the ballot, not at the top of the ticket. The top of the ticket doesn't matter in these situations, ladies and gentlemen. You have to drill that through your head. That the top of the ticket, everybody's like to your point, everybody's worrying about what Trump is saying and Trump is doing. Trump is not at your kitchen table.
No, he's not.
I guarantee you that JP, that county judge, that justice of the peace, and everything, they're at your kitchen table. President Trump is not at your kitchen table, ladies and gentlemen. So you better start thinking about who's actually at your kitchen table and affecting your lives, and that is at the local level. You start reining in the local level, and then working your way up the chain from there. Then you might be all right. You might,
but they're still blue no matter who at the local level. So again, it is still a bellwether of where the Democratic Party is. They do not respect you. There's over almost 10 states now that consider themselves sanctuary states, with some of their top cities being sanctuary cities, and they are still putting illegals over the citizens. In Aurora, Colorado, they actually signed a proclamation that said that the officers can interfere with federal agents. That's going to go not well.
God, let me play this clip right quick, Doc. I know you show up in time, but I want you to get your comments on this clip.
Democrats are going full MAGA, blue MAGA. No, seriously, Democrats are asking themselves, quote, could blue MAGA revitalize the party?
No.
We hear they're making blue hats that say make California great again and swapping out the Village People for Stevie Wonder. I guess if you just can't beat them, you join them. Democrats are admitting Trump was right about everything.
Nobody comes out looking better than Donald Trump and the MAGA right. Because the things that they were saying, the things that they were accusing the left of, the things that they were accusing legacy media of, whether it's true or not, they look right. They look like they were on point.
Democrats have never admitted we were right about anything. And now they're admitting we were right about everything. I don't even know how to take that. It's never happened before. They're all saying, you got us, we lied.
Democrats just spent 4 years arguing that the border was fine, inflation was not a problem, and Joe Biden was up to the job. And I think that 4 years of that message was really harmful. I think there are a lot of reasons why there are crises in confidence in the news media, in Democratic Party, in institutions. And I think all of it needs to be hashed out, acknowledged, and discussed.
Was that Tapper or Hannity? This isn't fun anymore. What's the point of having two parties if one side just keeps saying the other side's right? Did Democrats just surrender? Tapper's even saying we were right about lawfare.
I think it is problematic when people run for prosecutor and promise to go after a specific politician. And both Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, and Alvin Bragg, the District Attorney of New York, both of them did that. And that, to me, is problematic because you're not saying this is the offense and we need to bring justice to this perpetrator. You're saying, I'm going to go after him. And I think that there was a degree to which that was tolerated by the media writ large.
I'm glad he's saying.
All right, Doc, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, this has got to be something out of Rules for Radicals because I'm like, okay, no, this is a playbook because here's the thing. You're like, okay, I'll surrender. I'll look like I'm surrendering, but I'm still going to be the same person that I've always been. But I'm going to pretend like I'm actually surrendering. You were right the whole time while you're still doing the evil.
Still doing it.
Stop that. Satan does not change. All right.
Exactly.
But he'll tell you, you will not surely die. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't need anybody capitulating or believing nothing. Because Mr. Tapper, Mr. Letitia James was right. Going in. Stop that.
Yes,
Sir,
he was all up
he has
under
lost
that.
all credibility. He has lost all. He's a pariah. And I don't even know why Stephen A. had him on his show. But hey, you got to.
But I'm glad that Stephen A. even himself, as a Democrat, now that he sees the truth, he done weighed his way to be a Republican. You know, just like Jasmine Crockett is winging her way back, trying to. Randy, your thoughts on Jasmine down there? You in Texas? Tell me what's going on.
So there was an event here in Austin, and my candidate, who that I'm running here in Austin, Janelle Gary, her opponent in the name of Lauren Pena, went to Jasmine Crockett's event to openly ask for an endorsement. Mind you, this is a Republican asking a Democrat for an endorsement. You can't make this stuff up, y'all. And Jasmine said, she was like, do you know what you're doing? you just like tanked your own campaign. But what Jasmine said, what I found to be so profound to her or to the audience, she said, you know what? Yeah, you may hear me always talking about, ragging on Republicans and this and the other. She said, but at the end of the day, we as both Democrats and Republicans, we need to work together. We have to work together. We have to do these things. Yeah, the media fanfare and the punching, throwing names and all that stuff, that's entertainment. But when we sit down in those chambers, we have to come together and we have to get things done. So I was like, well, that took the wool off my eyes because I would have never expected her to say that.
Well, Doc, I know you got to go. I want to get your thought on this real quick. Because, Fannie Willis down here and them, they done dropped these charges. And I got this video I want to play, and I want to ask you a couple questions about it. Okay? Well, you get out of your thoughts on this.
The Georgia Senate want to give the state attorney general jurisdiction to bring indictments in election cases. It would take away that jurisdiction from Fulton and the rest of Georgia's counties. Doug Richards reports this is in response to Fulton County's now dismissed criminal cases against President Donald Trump.
In a criminal racketeering enterprise.
When Fulton County's district attorney got election interference indictments against Donald Trump and a slew of co-defendants 2.5 years ago, it irked Trump supporters at the state capitol. Senators launched an...
Your thoughts on that, Doc? What do you think is going to be the outcome of this?
Well, I've been following as best I could. right now, it really looks like it doesn't look good for the DA's office, because outside of the unscrupulous activity in her illicit personal life, right? They've really found, and this is a real bad ding on her, where they were visiting the White House
Yes.
during this time. And so with that coming out, that's a huge conflict of interest, because it's the same thing that she was saying for the election that led her to even go after Donald Trump in the first place.
Yes.
So it's going to be devastating, in my opinion, for the district attorney's office. I don't see her going to prison, but I do seeing it being a very bad stain on her record, right? I don't think she'll get reelected. I think they're going to basically quietly say, you need to go away before it gets bad for you, because if you don't, then we're going to have to send you to prison.
She's been getting fined, what, about $10,000 a day or something like that? That's fine.
No, that's something separate. The $10,000 a day, because I actually spoke to Janelle King, and that was about them not putting 2 Republicans on the county board of elections. So there's the state board and there's the county board. The county board of elections refusing, because they're saying we don't want to have election deniers, and they see every Republican as an election denier. The judge said, I'm going to do $10,000 a day, but they only did 1 day, and then they removed the fine for the $10,000 a day.
Okay.
So they haven't been suffering really, but they are still refusing to put any Republicans on the county board of elections, which is in violation of all laws and in violation of a court order. So I don't know what's going to happen at the county level, but right now the state is looking into actually taking over and controlling the county board of elections because of what they're doing and their refusal to actually comply with a court order.
Well, I'm going to play the rest of this, Randy, and we'll talk about it, because that's exactly what's coming up now. See you, Doc.
Now they want legislation that will strip counties of the ability to bring election fraud cases and give it to statewide grand juries operating under the Attorney General.
This is not a targeted approach just at Fonnie Willis. It's a statewide situation, because the same type of thing could happen in other counties.
To pass the constitutional amendment, Republicans at the Capitol are trying to act quickly and trying to overcome the skepticism of some rural Georgia district attorneys as well as Senate Democrats, who say statewide grand juries could still produce politically charged prosecutions.
That could be abused depending on who's in power. So you have to be very careful with that.
Republicans will be racing the clock to get this measure passed. The Senate.
All right, Randy, your thoughts on it? Because the reason why I do it, man, because the 2020 election was stolen, and now it's being proven. You know, Fannie Willis, D.A. Braggs, Letitia James, all of these black prosecutors. See how the Democrats did? The Democrats used all these black political prosecutors and put them out front, because they saved themselves knowing that this was all illegal, it was all corrupt, but they used black faces to come after Trump, to make black people think that we should hate Trump. And now all of this stuff is backfired. It's in their face. They've been proven, because it's coming out that she colluded with the White House to come after Trump. I think that could be, that criminal charges could be in there. What's your thoughts, Randy, on this whole thing? And we're going to get out of here for today.
Yeah, so real quick, I would just say, you know, it is prosecutorial misconduct, full stop. You know, that's what it is. And she, for what the state Senate or with the state House and Senate there, the state legislature, like that. The state legislature, what they're trying to do is actually, I think, is the right direction. You know, seeing how corrupt the counties are. You know, they're like, okay, we're going to have to take this over until these counties act right. And whether that be in perpetuity or just a short-term thing, but they need to step in and say, okay, you're not trying to abide by the laws, so we're going to enforce the law. And, oh, by the way, have a nice life in jail because you violated the law. That's what it is. You violated the law. So, you know, have a nice life in jail. And so that's where that is at, in my opinion. And I can see that we're not going to fix 2020 per se, but
No.
exposing what happened in 2020 will fix 2020 and going forward, future elections, because I know people are like, oh, President Trump is trying to federalize elections and this and the other, and it's a violation of the Constitution. Yes, that is true. However, when you're looking at, states not abiding by the law,
Exactly.
elections, then what recourse do you really have? The federal government then will have to step in and enforce the law, or take over temporarily to enforce the law and make states do the right thing, type of thing. So that's, kind of like, the 30,000 foot.
Well, you know what, Randy, let me say this to the American people and patriots across the country. The primaries are here in Chicago, and I want to send a shout out to Adrienne Wright and the Great Lakes Women Group that work with the Living and Driving While Black Foundation. Miss Wright and her team go out to the different polling places, to the voting spots, and they ensure that this Democratic state is doing right to the voters to make sure that Republican material is out there. They're not violating poll restrictions, all of that. And Miss Wright's organization been out there, and they're finding all sorts of infractions. As a matter of fact, I just got a letter of a complaint where they was in the jail system watching the inmates voting, and man, they said that the Democrats had people all in there telling them who to vote for, and it was just a mess, man. So I got the complaint this morning, and the point that I'm making to the citizens across this country, everything that President Trump said that they were doing, they are doing it. And so getting the Save America Act approved, this is going to safeguard our elections. It is going to make sure that only American citizens are voting in these elections, get rid of the mail-in ballot unless it's just a veteran or somebody who asked for an absentee ballot to cast while they're out of town. This only goes to show you what we're finding here in Illinois is that the voting system is corrupt. We need to make changes. What President Trump is doing with the SAVE Act is going to change it. Your last thoughts, Randy, and we're going to get out of here.
Yes, the SAVE Act needs to be passed. And for Democrats to push back against this, once again, it goes back to showing where their allegiance lies, is with illegal immigrants and corruption and criminality. That's where it is. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you all to contact your legislators and tell them to support the SAVE Act and to support, because this is an 80-20 issue at the end of the day also. So they need to support, put the pressure on them and say, hey, if you don't support this, it's going to be your ass in November. And,
yes.
And outside of that, I thank you for the discussion today. Great topics. And folks, you can follow me on all social media platforms at RPURHAM. And check out my shows on the Perman Associates on Let the Truth Be Told Network.
Yes, no doubt. And folks, saying that, Randy, we're going to get out of here.
Sir.
All right. Have a great day. Folks, these are my last words. I want to let the American people and patriots across this country know that it is our time to stand together as Americans to make a difference. If we don't stand together and make this country great again, we're going to lose it. God bless you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.